The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
Close your eyes and pull like a dog.
And a new Irish record for Phil Healy, 22.99.
Christy Cooney hands over the Sam Maguire Cup to Graham Canty, Cork All-Ireland champions for the 7th time ever.
Hello and welcome to the Star Sport podcast. My name is Dylan Mangan of the Southern Star and I'm joined as always by Star Sport editor Kieran McCarthy. Before we get into things, I'd like to give our listeners just a gentle reminder. Please rate, review and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube. The Star Sport podcast is brought to you in association with our friends at Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, where your bank really does matter. Choose credit union, choose local, choose community. Our special guest on the podcast this week is Cork hurler Luke Meade. The Newcestown man joined Kieran earlier to chat about his disappointment at going out of the Munster Championship, how Cork can improve next year, and what it's like being the only representative from Carbery on the senior hurling panel. But first, Kieran, I want to start with a big story that broke today. We're recording this on Wednesday afternoon for anyone listening later in the week. But this weekend's Cork's camogie team face down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh on Saturday. And later that evening, the ladies football team are also playing. They're playing away to Galway. So it's another fixture clash for dual players. And it's another fixture clash that has led to a messy situation today.
Yeah, it's an all too familiar tale, Dylan, when we have these fixture clashes, and it's very unfortunate, and it's very hard on Cork's four dual players. That's Hannah Looney, Libby Cobbinger from St. Columb's, Orla Cahalan and Aoife Healy. So there are four Cork players who play both ladies football and camogie. And like you said, on Saturday, both of those teams are in championship action, and they're important games for both teams. The Cork camogie team wants to bounce back from their opening round defeat when they take on Down at home, while the Cork footballers are away to Galway in their opener. So both teams have big championship games. And what's happened, the fact that these games are both on the same day, it's just led to what you described as a messy situation. And that's exactly what it is, because both the Cork camogie team and the Cork football team want these players because, like I said, they are important. They're important to both setups. So on Wednesday morning, the Cork ladies football team for the game against Galway was circulated. And on that team, it had the four dual players listed. So from that, it appeared that a decision had been made that those four players would play with the Cork football team. But within an hour of that team being put out there, I learned that the Cork camogie team also intends to name those four players on their team for their clash against Down on Saturday. So this is a mess. It really is. Both teams want those dual players for Saturday's games. There's no compromise at the moment. There's no one budging. Both have their reasons for picking the players. The Cork camogie team have a fierce injury crisis at the moment. They have 8 players out through injury. They have another player sitting her leave insert. And if they're missing the 4 dual players, I've been told they're down to just 19 players for this game on Saturday, while the Cork ladies football team, on paper, the game against Galway is the tougher of their group games. They're playing Tipperary in a couple of weeks' time, but they want their dual players for this game because it's a tough game away from home against a good Galway team. So unfortunately, no solution has been found between the two Cork teams, and it looks like the players will be forced to decide which team they want to line out with. And to be honest, that's dreadful. That's awful for these players to be put in that situation, in that position, just a couple of days out from huge championship games. But take this into the bigger picture. Why have the LGFA and the Camogie Association fixed these 2 championship games for the same day? Hannah Looney was promoting the championships last week, and she made a point last weekend was free. This Sunday is free, and the following weekend is free. There are dates in the calendar that one of these games could be moved to, but there was no budging. It really beggars belief that here we are, 2023, still talking about these fixture clashes, and it's the 4 players at the centre of this that are going to miss out. They're the ones that are suffering. If they have to choose which team they have to line out for on Saturday, it's hard to wrap your head around that, because their teammates to players on both teams, and how you would ask those players to choose. It's just very disappointing. So hopefully that both the Cork camogie and the Cork ladies football, that those management teams can come together and find a solution, because I just think it's not right to put the players in that situation.
Yeah, and it's not the first time this has happened this year either. We said earlier it's another fixture clash. The first came in the Munster Championship. Footballers were away to Tip and Camogie Tide was at home to Waterford, and they were split up that day. So we were told that they wouldn't be split up again. So that's why we believed that when we heard the Cork football team today, that all the players will be playing this weekend for the football team. And there's another clash on the cards on July 1st as well. So it's not something that looks like it's going to be solved anytime soon, is it?
No, that's the unfortunate thing. Like you said there, on July 1st, both the Cork camogie and the Cork ladies football teams are both in championship action again on the same day. So it looks like we're going to have another fixture clash unless it's sorted out at the 11th hour. So that's 3 fixture clashes in the space of 2 months. So again, it's the players caught in the middle. It's the players that's suffering. And we've been here before. That's why I think for the players themselves, they're almost hitting their heads against a brick wall. They're like, Jesus, what do we have to do to get this sorted? Like they've banged the drum, they've hit out at the associations, they've highlighted the lack of communication. Hannah Looney warned last week that the players could be forced to choose one code over the other, or they could give up both codes altogether. The players are at the end of their tether. They've had enough, and that's why you'd hope and you'd want the associations, the powers that be, the people who make these decisions at a higher level, to make decisions that take into account, I think, the welfare of the players first off. But especially when there is gaps in the calendar to slot these games into, I just love to know why this isn't happening. And some people might hit back and say, well, in the men's intercounty senior, that the dual player doesn't exist there in hurling and in football, and I accept that as well. But the dual player in ladies GA here in Cork, it's just so special, and it means so much to everyone. The Rena Buckleys, the Breach Corkleys, these legends of the game who achieve so much in both codes. And if it can be facilitated, it should be facilitated, because what we have here in those 4 players, like I said, Libby Coppinger from St. Columns is one of those, 4 fantastic role models for young girls and boys right around the county. They've shown that it's possible to be good inter-county standard in 2 sports, and to be disciplined and talented enough to play at that level. So it's just really unfortunate that we're here again. And the sad reality is, Dylan, we'll probably be talking about this again later in the year, and again next year, and again the year after, until it is started. We've heard a lot about the amalgamation with the ladies GA and Camogie Association coming under the GA umbrella. Will that sort it out? Possibly it will, but how far off is that? Is that from happening? So it's just, like I said, it's a mess, it's a shambles, and for the players involved to put them in this situation on the week of a big championship game, it's just not good enough.
No, not at all. And it's frustrating for us as well, for fans of the sport as well, because like you said, there's a lack of communication between the 2 associations, but a lack of communication to fans as well. Like, nobody knows why this can't be sorted, why it's happening, why it can't be fixed. So it is very frustrating. I thought the quote from Hannah Looney was very interesting. You mentioned her earlier last week. She said, realistically, if they're trying to push away the dual player and get rid of us, you're going to lose us from one organisation or the other, or both. So that's quite an ominous kind of statement to make as well. So I guess we'll see what happens with that in due course. Moving on, there's another big game in the GA this week for John Cleary's Cork team. They face Mayo in the Gaelic Grounds on Sunday. It's going to be another tough test for them following their close defeat to Kerry last time out. And Kieran, how do you see this one panning out?
Huge game. What a big game for the Cork footballers. So it's the final round of games in the round robin section of the All-Ireland Championship. And of the 16 teams involved, only Clare are the team that cannot progress to the next round. So that shows there's a lot on the line. So specifically, we're very interested in what happens in Group 1. That's Cork's group. So we have that win against Louth in the first game, lost the second game to Kerry. So what it means is Mayo are on top with 4 points, but Cork and Kerry have 2 points each, and Louth have 0 points. And this Sunday at the same time, it's Cork against Mayo in the Gaelic Grounds, and it's Kerry against Louth in Portlaoise. So there's a lot of permutations here. Cork can finish anywhere from 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th. It's So it's going to be one of those days where if you're at the Gaelic Grounds, you'll be seeing on Twitter to see what's happening over in Portlaoise, because let's say if Cork beat Mayo and if Louth beat Kerry, that means Cork will top the group. So there's, but if results go against Cork, there is a permutation where Cork could get knocked out on scoring difference. That's if Louth beat Kerry by a certain amount, and if Cork lose to Mayo, that would leave Louth, Kerry and Cork all on 2 points, and then it will come down to scoring difference. So like I said, there's a lot on the line. So all Cork can do is go out on Sunday and give a performance, and hopefully that performance will be good enough to get the result that the Rebels want. I was talking to John Cleary for this Thursday Southern Star, and he made a point of highlighting how he wants his team to be more clinical and ruthless, to be clinical and ruthless in the bigger moments against the bigger teams. That he feels is the next step for this Cork team to take. They missed chances against Kerry. I can think off the top of my head, there was 3 frees in a row in the second half, and Chris O'Jones had a bad wide in the first half, and there was a couple of shots dropped short into Shane Ryan's hands as well. So Cork can see that they're creating the chances, but they're not taking enough of those chances against the big teams. So if Cork can do that on Sunday, they can rattle a really, really good Mayo team who are Division 1 league champions. So it's all to play for. So Cork can get through to the next round. They can top the group, preliminary quarterfinal, home quarterfinal, so much on the line. But first off, Dylan, we need a Cork performance on Sunday.
Yeah, like you said there's a lot of permutations, and it's probably best if the Cork players don't even try and wrap their heads around them, because they are quite complicated, like you say. Just to remind people, I guess the top table toppers go straight into the quarterfinals. Second place teams will then play at home in the preliminary quarterfinals against the 4 third place teams. So in an ideal situation, Cork will top this, but maybe realistically, are we looking potentially at an away preliminary quarterfinal?
I would think so. I think that'd be a good call right now, because we'll presume Kerry will beat Louth. Maybe that's a dangerous presumption to make given Kerry's form, and they haven't been too convincing in their games so far. But if Kerry beat Louth, as most would expect Kerry to do, that means regardless of the result against Mayo, Cork are through, and they'll go through in third place, which is an away preliminary quarterfinal the following weekend. And whether Cork finish first, second or third, well, ideally you want Cork to finish first, but it's going to be another game in the championship. And this Cork team, as John Cleary tells us, it's a work in progress. So every game they can get, it's another step, you would hope, in the right direction, another step against quality opposition, because the game against Kerry the last time out was Cork's first game against a Division 1 outfit this year, and they went toe-to-toe with Kerry for 70 minutes. So we want to see the same this Sunday in the Gaelic Grounds. And I just think back to 6 years ago, Dylan. I was in the Gaelic Grounds when Cork and Mayo met in a qualifier, and that was an absolutely brilliant game. Mayo ended up winning by a point after extra time, but it was just superb. Peter Healy was the Cork manager at the time, and I remember Sean Powter was superb that day. But that was 6 years ago, where Cork really pushed Mayo all the way to the end, and I'd be hoping for something similar on Sunday. And if Cork can do that, go to 70 minutes, but also take their chances, who's not to say that they won't win this game, and really throw the cat amongst the pigeons heading into the knockout stages.
Yeah, really, absolutely would. And maybe it does feel a little bit like Cork are kind of on the precipice of claiming a scalp against a team like Mayo. So like this year, we've seen them run Dublin and Kerry close, and while you'd probably argue that Mayo are a step above both of those teams at the moment, it's surely just a matter of time before we're sitting here on the podcast talking about a big Cork win.
I think that's the hope, and that's almost the next step in where John Cleary wants to get this Cork football team to. Like I said, in Thursday Southern Star, I have an interview with John, and we speak about, let's say, the fitness levels of this Cork football team for a moment. He highlighted that Cork went toe-to-toe with Kerry for the full 70 minutes 2 weeks ago. Rewind 12 months ago, where Cork had a bad fade-out against Kerry in the Munster semi-final. Cork were 1 point behind after 51 minutes, and they ended up losing by 12. A few weeks later, Cork played Dublin in an All-Ireland quarter-final, and then Cork were 3 points behind at half-time, and they ended up losing again, I think it was by double digits in the second half. Fast forward 12 months, and John Cleary puts a lot of emphasis on a really good pre-season. He said the Cork players came back fit. He told me that after that Dublin game last year, that he laid down the law to the Cork players, and he said, when you come back for pre-season, I want you in good shape. So the strength and conditioning programs that the lads followed last year, it has stood them in good stead. They're certainly fitter this year. So that's one box you could say the Cork have ticked. They're a fitter team this year, so they're able to go stride for stride with the elite. So the next step they have to take is, like I said earlier, can they score those big kicks in the big moments against the big teams? And if they do that, they'll end up beating a big team, and that's another step in the right direction. So we all want to see Cork football getting back to the top table, be back competing for the big prizes. It is a process. I know fans would love click the fingers and Cork are back competing for Sam Maguire's, but it's not that simple. If it was, every county would be doing it. But we've seen progression this year. What you want to see is that continued progression, and a win against a big team like Mayo this weekend would certainly be a huge boost.
Yeah, that's on at 2 p.m. on Sunday. And as well as some positive injury updates there as well, Conor Corbett and Tommy Walsh have been rated as 50-50 chance to face Mayo. So that would be a boost for the team as well there. We'll be reacting to that next week on the podcast. I'm sure we'll be celebrating a big win there. Now, in other news, 3 West Cork athletes have this week been named on the Ireland team for the European Games in Krakow this month, joining Bantry kickboxer Tony Stevenson, who was announced as part of the team a couple of weeks ago. So it's great news for local athletes this summer.
Yeah, brilliant to see that we have 4 West Cork athletes in total heading to the European Games. Like you said there, Tony Stevenson, we actually hope to have on the podcast next week, all going well. Tony is the West Cork Kickboxing Club kickboxer. He's a former world senior champion and a world junior champion. So he'll be representing Ireland at the European Games in Krakow. And before that, we'll have 3 local athletes in action as well early next week. So Phil Healy has been entered in 3 events. That's the women's 200 metres, the women's 4x100 metre relay, and the mixed 4x400 metre relay. Her older sister Joan is also on the 4x100 metre relay team, and Kilbrittain teenager Nicola Tuttle will compete in the women's hammer. So all 3 will be in action next week in Poland. And I suppose from Phil's point of view, Dylan, the reality is she's not going to compete in all those 3 events. She's entered in 3, but she's going to have to pick and choose. She'll definitely run the 200. So then it's going to come down to a choice. Will Phil run in the 4x100 metre relay, or will she run in the mixed relay as well? And that decision will become clearer over the next couple of days. I would think her sister Joan wants Phil in that 4x100 metre relay, because Phil Healy is, as far as I know, she's still the Irish 100 metre women's record holder. Or I could be wrong on that, because Rashida Adeleke is breaking every record at the moment, so she probably has that as well. But Phil did hold it at one point, or maybe she still does. But I would think that Joan and that relay team want Phil there, but the mixed relay team would want Phil as well. So she's a decision to make. And that mixed relay team was also the one that Phil was on, that got to the Olympic final back in the summer of 2021 in Tokyo. So she has a decision to make there. But in the grand scheme, great to see 3 local athletes compete at that level. And for Nicola Tuttle, she's only 19. So this is her first major senior international event. It's a great chance for her to get some experience at a big championships like this. Her main championships is the European Under-23s in Finland next month. Nicola's already had a super season. She's had 3 PBs. So if she can get another solid showing under her belt, it'll hopefully set her up for a good outing in Finland next month.
Yeah, good news all around for West Cork athletes there. Now, coming up now is our guest this week, Luke Meade. Kieran, you spoke with Luke about Cork getting disappointingly knocked out of the Munster Championship, and a lot more when you caught up with him recently.
Yeah, I caught up with Luke just to chat about Cork's inter-county season. So it was the Cork hurlers, their first campaign under Pat Ryan. So I just wanted to pick Luke's brains just to see how he found it, what progress he thought Cork made, how close they came in that Munster Championship. It was small margins. Think back to that game against Clare. Clare got an injury time winner. Think back to the game against Limerick. Limerick came good in the second half and just pipped Cork, and that's what knocked Cork out. And look at the Munster final last week in Dylan. Look how close that was between Limerick and Clare. So just goes to show that this Munster Championship, it's just so tight. Unfortunately for Cork, just ended up on the wrong side of the results this time. So it was good to catch up with Luke to chat that, but also the fact he is the only Carbery hurler on the Cork senior hurling panel. You'd love, in an ideal world, to have more hurlers from this part of the woods on the in and around Cork hurling panels. And in fairness, we've had a trickle over the last couple of years. We've had a few players in the minor and under 20 panels, and we've obviously Luke is there at the senior panel. There was a stage where David Lowney from Clonakilty and Michael Cahalan from Bandon were in and around there as well. But I just wanted to talk to Luke about that, like what can be done to get more Carbery hurlers up at that level. And he believes that Carbery hurlers are good enough to play at the highest levels. But we started off discussing Cork's Munster Championship campaign and his thoughts on it. Delighted now to be joined on the podcast by Cork hurler Luke Meade to have a chat about Cork's season, both league and championship. And first off, Luke, we're just a couple of weeks on from Cork's exit from the championship. What are your thoughts on it now? Because it was such small margins.
Yeah, fine margins, as you said. Like, couldn't sum it up better, really. Look, obviously, still the disappointment hasn't gone anyway. That's for sure. Really disappointed to be out so early in the year. Like the good weather was only just coming. Like, we're out of championship already. Like, so it is still really disappointing. And fine margins, as you said. Like, you know, in every game, like tip game, had a chance at the end, and had loads of chances during the game. Like, Clare, same, and even the last day then against Limerick as well. Like, just so close. Like, even just to get one more point, like over the 3 games, like, would have made it such a different result really for ourselves, like for the rest of the year. Like, so yeah, just really disappointed to be out already and not training with the lads. Like, this is a big change of what we're used to. Like, yeah.
Is that what makes it so hard for the group to stomach almost? Like you said there, like these fine margins, that draw against Tip, Clare with their injury time winner, Limerick again just by a point. Like, we're talking like the smallest of margins here. Is that what makes it so hard to kind of almost come to terms with? Because Cork were so close to advancing, even being in the Munster final, going through to the All-Ireland series, but all of a sudden now on the outside looking in.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing. Like, so close, as you said, and like 1 point away from getting into a Munster final. Like, this week could have been preparing for a Munster final against Clare or Tip or whoever, but just so close. And like, as you said, when you lose by a point or each game is so tight, like you're always just thinking of, you're going over every single mistake that you made and everything during the game, like that you could have changed differently, like that would have made maybe the 1 point of a difference. You know, so it's kind of sickening in a way, like that you just keep going over those in your head, as a team and as a personally, like over everything you could have done, like that could have just changed things drastically. Like, but look, that's just the way it is really. That's what we're going to have to put up with. The competition is brilliant, like, you know, it's brilliant to be playing these tight, tough games against quality opposition, like, so like you wouldn't change that for the world, like, but it's just trying to get over the line. It was just disappointing, obviously, like, yeah.
Like those what-if moments, I can just imagine for you as a group the last couple of weeks, just probably playing over in your heads different moments from different games. Is there any moment or game that stands out to you as in what if something had happened different in that game that we could be having a different conversation now?
Not really. Like, I suppose you could go over loads of things. Like, you could look at every miss, every wide, every chance for a goal that you would have had, like, over the 3 games. I suppose in each game, obviously we beat Water and played well that day. Tip, like, drew against a very good Tip team, like, that'll have a big say in the championship yet. Like, each day, I suppose, that we didn't win either the draws or the losses by point. Like, we probably didn't play well for maybe a period in each game, like the last against Limerick, probably a 10-15 minute period there in the second half. Clare the same, that kind of second quarter of the game didn't play well really, and Tip probably the same, like, you know, so it's just those probably 10-15 minute spells that just kind of cost us really in the end, because we played some great stuff. Other than that, like even the last against Limerick, like, or at the start of the game, like we're playing brilliantly, like playing really well, like in the first half, especially against Limerick, like, but just 10 minutes after half time kind of got stuck, couldn't get ourselves going, couldn't get the scores on the board for that 10 minutes. It can probably just cost us, like, which was just, yeah, it was gutting really, like, yeah.
There seems to be a general consensus that this is a Cork team on the rise, and I think that was almost refreshing. Even after the exit from the championship, there was no knee-jerk reaction, nobody kind of lashing out about Cork were out at this stage, because bigger picture with Pat Ryan in and the talent coming through, people can see that this team is moving in the right direction. Is that the sense that you can get yourself from being inside, like you know better than most, that this is a Cork team with definitely its better days ahead?
Yeah, like obviously, like that's what you'd be hoping for as well. Like, you know, we've some great players, players that have been there a while, like, and young players coming through as well. Like, so, like, there's plenty of good players there. Yeah, I suppose you'd like to think that we're coming, but you know, every year you still have to take your chances, like, and still have to perform and still have to get the results, like, you know. So, I suppose the reaction from the Cork supporters, like, I definitely noticed this year, especially, like, even though it is kind of the first year that we haven't made it out of the group in the round robin series, still the reaction of the Cork supporters, like, has been good, like, and better than you might have expected out of a team that didn't make it out of the group. Like as you said, like, there's no knee-jerk reaction, like there's no one kind of giving out too much really that I've seen. Like, obviously you don't be looking out for things too much. But just the sense that I get, like, that the support is really there, like, you know, and that's really important because, like, when the Cork crowd is on your back, like, or when the Cork crowd is with you, I should say, like, and they're in full voice, like, and they're supporting the team like they did this year and like they do every year, like filling out stadiums and things like that. You know, it's it can be a hard thing to stop for opposition when the crowd is with you, and especially the Cork crowd. So this year, like, there was a great reaction from the supporters all throughout the year, like, even after the games that we drew, like, and maybe lost by a point, there was still people saying that it was a good performance, like, and they were happy with the performance and the effort of all the players, like, you know. So it is good to get that. But, like, as I said, it is grand to be saying that we're coming and that we've good players, because we always have good players, but we just kind of have to take our chances, like, and have to, as I said, just take the chances when they come, like, yeah.
What do you think this Cork group needs to do, so, Luke, to take that next step, to be in those conversations for the big prizes again?
I'm not sure really. Like, I suppose we're doing a lot of things right. You know, like, to be getting into those positions, like, we're competing at a very high level, like, Munster hurling, like, is the highest level, the toughest competition in hurling, like, obviously. So we're right at the level, like, it's just that small little couple of percentages. Like, it's hard to know really how to figure it out. Like, you know, like, if I was able to figure it out now, like, it'd be very easy to get through next year and things like that, which it won't be. Like, you know, you just have to put the head down and work as hard as you can, have confidence in your team and in your play, and just, as I said, just take your chances when they come, and just try and get over the line. I'm not really sure the areas that we could go after or anything like that. I suppose on further reflection, the lads will be doing that and things like that. So we just have to keep what we're doing and trust that we're going in the right direction, trust that we're doing the right things. Yeah.
How was your role changed, Luke, under Pat Ryan? What has he asked you to do? Maybe the previous management didn't, or has your role evolved under Pat? I
suppose just no different to anyone else on the panel. I suppose all Pat is looking for really is just an honest effort, like, totally honest effort, total work rate, and just totally playing for the jersey, which is what you want to do every day. Like, but he's just really putting emphasis on working hard, being a good teammate and a good team player, and just having confidence then in your abilities and bringing what you have to the table. And I suppose Pat is an extremely positive man and an extremely good motivator and a brilliant manager, and all he's doing is just pushing you, giving you confidence to try and bring your talents and bring what you bring to the game to the field. That's what Pat does really well for everyone on the panel. Like, so, you know, so it is just to work as hard as you can and just bring your own skills and talents to the game. And he gives you the confidence to do that. Really, is what I'd say about Pat. There's no one any different. He treats everyone the same. From number 1 to 30, like, he treats everyone the same and driving on everyone, like, which is, wouldn't say my role has changed too much really. It's just giving yourself the confidence and the things to just drive on, like, yeah.
I think one of the noticeable things too with the Cork senior hurlers this year, and especially during the championship, the amount of young fellas that Pat has given a go. I see there are 25 players were used by Cork in the championship, and of those 25, 9 of them have played in the previous 2 All-Ireland under 20 final wins. And of course, we've had Cork's recent under-20 hurling final win as well. So that's 3 in 4 years. So we can see that there is a conveyor belt of talent coming through, and they're starting to get their chance. Like I said there, Pat gave a lot of fellas a go this year. So that must lead to a really competitive squad right now.
Absolutely, yeah. Ultra competitive squad. As you said, all those new players that have been tried out in the league. I'd say everyone nearly on the panel, extended panel and everything, training panel, got to go in the league. So like everyone has been given a chance, and with that, like when in the league, when we were trying out so many players, like we were still winning, like, you know, so those fellas that were playing were keeping their jersey a lot of the time. So it was up to everyone else to try and get in. And the training is really competitive, like in any AVBs or internal training games that we're playing, like we're very competitive. And you're always just, and sure, like that's obviously like every good team says it, like that's what they need. Like when you're going into training, you know you can't take a night off, or you can't take it easy tonight because someone else will just have your jersey, like. And that's the thing, like if you're not performing, like there's always someone else there to ready and waiting to step in. You know, so it keeps everyone on their toes. So it was great, like, yeah, it was great.
Was obviously here in West Cork, we have an extra special interest in you, Luke. You're our only Carbery representative on the Cork senior hurling panel. You've been there since 2017. Like, just to have a Carbery hurler, or a hurler from Carbery, sorry, on the panel, it's important for the division, because we've had Sean Daly involved with the Cork under-20s as well that won the All Ireland. We don't get too many hurlers from West Cork on the inter-county panel. So to have the likes of yourself and Sean there, I think it's important for hurling in the division.
Yeah, without doubt. Yeah, and I met Sean yesterday at the Skeenish Golf Finals as well, like, and it was a brilliant achievement for him as well to be part of an All-Ireland winning team. So yeah, it is important, like you're going around to different clubs, maybe at camps and things like that, like, and they all have a hurling in their hand and things like that. So maybe you're thinking, maybe if a couple of us weren't there, maybe that wouldn't be the case, like, but there's great interest, like in West Cork and hurling, obviously, like in hurling and football. But yeah, you're just trying to do your best to keep everyone interested, like, and to keep everyone involved. Like, it is great for my own club, like, obviously, to have someone involved, and in West Cork in general, just to try and drive on the hurling, I suppose, in parts maybe that mightn't have been focused on it too much over the years. But yeah, look, it's an honour for me really to be, as you said, like the only one maybe in the division at the moment on the panel, like, so yeah, I'm just trying to do my best really for the lads, yeah.
What you do, Luke, and the same with Sean at the Skeenish Golf Finals, it's almost this visibility for young boys and girls in the division. Like, they saw you at the Skeenish Golf Finals in Clonakilty, and the same with Sean, because that's important, because then they can see someone who's really a Cork senior hurler, and it makes it more realistic for a young boy in Carbery to think that they can play at the top level, because it would be great to see more hurlers from Carbery progress up through the different panels. I know with David Lowney from Clonakilty before was in and around a couple of seasons back. So is that the hope, Luke, that we can get more hurlers from this neck of the woods through, and what can we do to try and achieve that?
Yeah, definitely, that's the hope, like, and there's no reason why fellas can't do it. And I suppose that's what, when I'm going around maybe to camps and things like that, talking to children, like, you know, that's just the message I'm trying to get across. Like, there's no reason why anyone from wherever club that they're from can't be involved with Cork teams, minor, under 20 or senior or whatever. Like, you just need to put in the work, like, and just put in the practice. And I suppose the clubs just need to help out as well, I suppose, to help drive them on, like, and keep driving on hurling in their own clubs, because, as I said, like, there's great athletes, there's great footballers, great hurlers in the division. It's just giving them the chances, maybe through development squads or through Carbery or through whatever it is, really, I'm not sure, just to keep practicing, keep putting in the hard work, like, because they're no different to anyone else from East Cork or from the city or from North Cork. Like, they have the same amount of time in their hands, they have the same amount of everything else. Like, there's no reason why they can't be a part of a squad. They just need to put in the work, really. So yeah, it is good that they can see maybe myself or Sean around the place, just to see that it can be done, like, yeah.
Just a word on your own club, Newcestown, one of the great clubs of West Cork, and even, I suppose, Cork GA going so well, senior hurling and football, which is rare for a rural club to do that. How important has Newcestown been in your development, and even those characters and those people involved in the club who've helped you in your journey?
Sure, massive. Like, yeah, every club, like every player that plays in any county team is obviously hugely grateful to their club, like for putting them in that position. Like I'm very lucky, like to be a part of a club like that is playing at a high standard in both hurling and football, and it's great for our lads. Like some lads are better at hurling, some lads are better at football, but we're playing at a standard like that is quite high. Like, and if you can succeed at that standard, like you obviously have maybe a better chance of making these panels and things like that. But yeah, just even the quality of the other players, and a bit like I was saying with inside in the Cork squad, with it being so competitive, like when everyone else in the club like is so good as well, like, and the standard is so high, like it's obviously bringing you on as well, and it's important when you're younger then obviously as well, like to have good trainers and to have good players around you to help bring you kind of to the next level and keep developing you the whole time. Like, so I'm very lucky to be part of a really good club, hurling and football, like, and we kind of balance them both pretty well. Like, it's kind of a 50-50 split really between the two in the club. You know, and now that I'm back with the club, like it's for me, like it's 50-50 between the hurling and football. You know, so yeah, I'm just really, really happy to be part of it. Like, yeah.
As disappointing as Cork's exit was from the Munster Championship, you're obviously back in with Newcestown now. Did you give it a bit of time before you went back in, or were you back in the following week? And does it almost soften the blow a small bit, the fact you're going back into your home club with the lads you've grown up with and you played with all along, so you're coming back into that very familiar environment again?
Yeah, it does soften it. Like obviously you don't want to be back in club training so early in the year. Obviously I'd love to be going until the end of July or whenever, or the start of August or whenever the All-Ireland is. But it does soften it a bit, like that we're coming back to such a familiar team, like, and as I said, like that I'm still playing to a good standard, senior in both, like, you know, so I'm very lucky in that sense. After we got knocked out, I haven't played a game with the now yet since. Hopefully be playing next week for the football game with Newcestown. I turned up to training right the following week after we got knocked out. I didn't train now, but just to see the lads and just to try and kind of get used to the setting again. But yeah, look, just as I said, like for not to be back this early, but like when I'm there, look, still good to be a part of back with the lads, like, and back playing to a good standard hurling and football, you know. So yeah, it's not too bad after that. Yeah.
I think that the nature of the beast, which is the hurling championship, is even though Cork aren't in it, it's pouring on regardless. What sort of fan will you be for the championship? Will you keep an eye on what's going on? Will you watch the games, or are you going to just try and block it out for the next couple of weeks and stay away from it? So how do you approach the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, like I'd be a big obviously supporter of hurling, obviously like a big fan of it, like, you know, so I find it very hard to block it all away. And even this week, like I was thinking about the Munster final between Clare and Limerick, like, and I was just thinking how much we'd love to be there. And like the thought crossed my head, like I'm not going to bother watching that, but like at the end of the day, I'm still going to watch it. Like it's going to be an unbelievable game between two good teams, like, you know, so like in my head, I prefer to be able to block it out, but I won't be able to. I'll be watching it, like I'll be watching the whole championship. You know, so obviously gutting that we're not there, and every match that I'll be watching, like I'll be thinking the same thing, like that. Wish we were there, you know. Just thinking about next year and just trying to drive on for next year. But no, I'll watch it right. Like it's going to be a Sunday's game, the Munster and the Leinster final. Like are going to be two serious games. Like, and you know, I feel like that every team kind of thinks that they have a good chance this year of winning the All-Ireland. Like. I think the gap is kind of closed maybe between Limerick and the rest, maybe a small one. Now this might come back, you know, Limerick might come back and hammer everyone. But I just think that there'll be serious games to come in the championship, like, you know, so I'll definitely be watching them anyway, yeah.
Final question. So just on the Munster Championship, it's an incredible championship. It's so competitive. We could see it from the results this year and the games themselves, they were so close. For a player to be stuck in the middle of it, what's it like? Because as fans on the outside, we're looking in, kind of gripped by what's going on, but you're right in the middle. Like, are you the calm eye in the middle of the storm, or do you get caught up in the excitement of it all?
I suppose you try not to get caught up in it. Really, like, is the realistic answer. Like it's great to be involved in these occasions, like in before the match, for the national anthem and in the warm up and things like that. Like it's great to see these massive crowds. But you do have to stay cool, like, and you do have to be calm in the centre of it all, like, because if you're not on it, like, you're going to be eaten up. You don't have a second on the ball. You don't even have a second to get the ball into your hand. It has to be as quick as you can. And if you're any bit off, like, you're going to be found out, and you're going to be eaten up inside there, like, so you kind of have to be calm. You just have to be on the ball and block it out as much as you can during the game, because obviously after the game, like, you can say, God, that was a great game to be a part of, like, and even before, you can be looking forward to it as much as you can. But it's just, you kind of have to be as tuned in as you can on the field. It's kind of a boring answer, like, but it's just the way it has to be, really. We're privileged to be playing these games, like, but have to be tuned in, like, yeah.
The Star Sport podcast is brought to you by Access Credit Union. Access Credit Union, funding dreams for over 50 years.
Welcome back to the Star Sport podcast. And now it's my favourite time of the week, Kieran, because I get to hear what's on in this week's Southern Star Sport. So what have you got for everyone this week?
We've gone through a couple of the pieces earlier, obviously interview with John Cleary ahead of the game on Sunday. We have Matthew Toomey and Shane Ronayne and their big championship games this weekend. And obviously the dual clash is front and centre of this week's Star. My last word column is on how the dual players are being caught in the middle of this tug of war between both county teams and both associations as well. But we've plenty more besides that. We have a really nice piece about the late great Teddy McCarthy, who coached and managed the Bandon Hurlers to county win in 2011, and it's the role that Teddy Mac played in that fantastic Bandon win. What's that? 12 years ago now. We also have reaction from the Cork minor football manager, Ray O'Mahony, who a couple of days on from their exit from the All-Ireland Championship is still not happy with the officiating decisions in that game. An absolute shambles is how he has described it. So very strong words from Ray O'Mahony in this Thursday's Southern Star. Our feature county league game this week is Kilbrittain against Barry Rowe. It was a Division 6 county hurling league derby. Kilbrittain were going for promotion. Barry Rowe were battling relegation. So guess what happened? Barry Rowe went and turned the tables on their neighbours and got a very important win to boost their chances of survival. Have to mention too, Dylan, we have an 8-page Skeena Skull special in Thursday's Southern Star. So last week in Clonakilty, 38 teams descended on Ahamilla for the annual West Cork Skeena Skull football finals. 32 primary schools from right across West Cork were there. And we have pictures of all 32 schools, plus we have match reports on every single final. So this is a real keepsake, because the West Cork Skeena Skull finals, these are the All-Ireland finals for these kids. They mean so much. Some of the high end, the great and the mighty footballers we see now at Cork level, they all came through. They all played Skeena Skull here in West Cork. So this is a real keepsake 8-page pullout in the middle of the sports section. So that's well worth checking out. Have to mention too, the West Cork Kennedy Cup team is doing great things at the moment. So as we record this on Wednesday, the West Cork team are going to play in their big quarter final on Wednesday evening. So hopefully it all went well there. But just to flag, for the first time ever, the West Cork team won all 3 group games in the Kennedy Cup, and they topped their group earlier this week. So that's an incredible achievement. So well done to all them involved. And hopefully this story just keeps on running this week. What else have we, Dylan? You're asking. This is one of my favourites. Erling Haaland shot the lights out with Manchester City. He got all these awards. But did you know that Barry O'Driscoll-Hawthorne from Drina Rangers has a better goals per game ratio in the league than Haaland had in the Premier League? So I'm not going to say too much more, but it's well worth checking out Thursday Southern Star to see that. We also have an interview with George Salter Townsend, the 82-year-old Skibbereen athlete who was cleaning up the medals at Masters level earlier this year. We have the story about Dylan Hicks, the young Bantry teenager who's joining the Munster Rugby Academy for 2023-2024, keeping that hashtag West Cork Mafia moving in the right direction. And we've so much more beside it. I say it every week, Dylan, but this is a really, really good sports section. So don't be the one to miss out. Pick up the Star on Thursday.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know if there's a sport in the world that isn't represented in the Star Sport this week. As always, that'll be available in shops across West Cork from Thursday morning. And if you're further afield or you can't make it to the shops, you can subscribe to the Southern Star and get the Southern Star on your laptop, tablet or phone. Just go to subscribe.southernstar.ie, enter your details, and you'll get an exact replica of the newspaper for less than €2 per week. And this week, Kieran, we've launched as well our annual subscription option. So you can subscribe for a year for €88. You get a month free if you do that. So if you want to commit to the Star for a year, that option is available for you there as well. As always, thanks for listening to the Star Sport podcast, and thanks again to our sponsors at Access Credit Union. If you've enjoyed this, please remember to rate, review and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll be back again next week, hopefully talking about a big Cork win. Thanks for listening.